Hello, hello, people of the internet. We're back.
We're
ELs
back.
with we're back. ELs with the Freedom Astrologer and Donny Lim, astrologer extraordinaire. We're back. The Liam, the world famous astrology duo Liam, is finally back on the air. And we have another month of astrological observations. We have stories, we have personal stories, we have full moons, we have new moons, we have all this astrological, spiritual, practical knowledge coming your way. How are you, Donny, doing this fine
Ooh,
afternoon
I think the
or
last
night?
time that we stopped recording together, it was like for November, right? Then December, it was like a crazy ride.
Hmm.
And so that video on 2022 Outlook did go viral. So thank you for making that video go viral. Um, and of course, with that, I've been busy with work and all that, and just dealing with the retrogrades, particularly Venus and Mercury. Not the best, but um, not the best. But hey, at least we're still here. So, how about
Yeah.
yours? What
Um,
happened to you since November?
I have a couple of stories, guys, for you. It's not been the easiest for me personally. Definitely, it's been quite a interesting, let's say, couple of months at least. I had the Rona. I had a bunch of other challenges in my life, and I wanted to kind of open up a little bit of my challenges during this Venus because Venus, we had Venus retrograde. It's all about relationships. We had Mercury retrograde, or Mercury is still retrograde. And I wanted to talk a little bit about being vulnerable and being open about these matters. And with my fiance, we had a couple of really, I would say, big fights during this Venus retrograde. That was quite
Like
serious.
so
And
honest, heart-to-heart conversations.
this is where I was leading. It was like it started out as fights, and it was quite serious. And I'm not even if you're having this as well right now, still maybe a couple of weeks, the Venus retrograde energies are kind of in flux or in the air. Don't feel bad. Do your best to go into these deep spaces. That's what really helped us, was kind of like sitting down, putting our heads together, like openly communicating, like what we honestly want, how we want to go, where we want to move as a couple. What we actually want as separate human beings and out of life, and these things are really, I think, if you're able to discuss these things during Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, especially if they're together, you will have a better chance of, like, after the retrogrades are done, to move in tandem together forward towards the future in a much better, or even much solid foundation, because it was happening in Capricorn. Oh, okay, a little bit Aquarius, but mostly in Capricorn as well. Foundations needed to be built again for us to move forward. Anyway, that was one of these types of stories that I think it's important to share. Because we constantly, as astrologers, I feel like we talked about, oh yeah, reevaluating and blah blah blah. These kind of like almost like big words, and I wanted to kind of put these big words into a real physical earthly manifestation, which can be, really, literally fighting and literally yelling at your spouse as well, which happened to us. But
Oh, you're
now,
bringing the real life rather than cookbook astrology, just like, the classic read from the book, or website words.
I really think that's where we need to go more and more and more. Because again, our society and lives are constantly changing. So yes, the traditional astrology, there's lots for us to bring from that and the knowledge and everything, but we need to adjust it and to really make new observations to understand what's going on right now in our lives, and how we deal with these matters and how we move forward with these lives. And yeah, just a couple of fun Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde stories from just broke my computer screen just a couple of days ago. So, these things happen during these retrogrades, and don't feel bad if it happens to you. New things, literally new things, will come to replace it, and even better things will come to replace it. So let them go. If you're still experiencing, we're still in the mix, so let them go if possible.
Yeah, I mean, as we enter February, Venus just turned direct. Mercury will also turn direct on February 3rd. And actually, if I think about it, from February 4th, after Mercury turns direct, all the way till end of April, I think on the 29th, there will be no retrograde planets in the sky. So from February 4th, I actually can see that we're just tying up loose ends or finishing some unfinished business or reconciling some things that were left unsaid before. And then we are in this kind of zipping forward in supersonic speed all the way till end of April, really. So things will only quicken from February 4th onwards when Mercury stations direct. And yeah, we're in for a ride.
And so for those of you guys who have more, let's say, fire energy like me, I'm almost only have fire energy in my chart. So, like, when everything is retrograde, when everything is in Earth, it can get really annoying for us. We want to move, quickly. We want to move forward. Now, of course, the Earth and the fixed energy is still a little bit there. Yes, cardinality still helping a little bit for us, but at least the retrograde planets are there will be no retrograde planets for a while, so we finally get to move and make things happen again. Yeah. So, couple of things I also want to bring in here, and Donny will give his ideas as well, because these next topics have been some of the things that I've been really seeing online, Twitter, Facebook, every kind of astrological groups, and not even only astrological groups in society in general. People are worried about these things. There's a lot of annoyance, pain, turbulence going on with this. And the first one I want to talk about is prices. Prices of goods, prices of electricity, very much so as well. And this has been, for those of you who have been following us, me and Donny, we've been talking a little bits and pieces here and there, but this has been, building up for a while, because the Uranus Saturn square has been happening, for a long time, for over a year now, and Saturn has been in the sign of Aquarius as well, which is supply lines, and Uranus is also supply lines. When these two are in a hard aspect, this has been building up for a while, and this will continue on for a while. From practical earthly perspective, people can't work. Factories can't work because of the virus, and da 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 da. It will build up. There will be shortages of goods. People can't just make the things. That's just one of the things, and it will keep on going for a while. Yes, during the summer Saturn will go retrograde, so it will ease up. It will seem almost like maybe the worst is yet like almost over. In my mind, no, it's not. And we will. Yeah, go ahead. I can't hear you for some reason.
Actually, in Q3 of this year, Saturn-Uranus square is still within a degree orb.
Yes.
So I think that will be the, should I say, crescendo of the culmination moment of whatever that we've been experiencing throughout 2021 with all the material shortages and global supply chain disruptions that are man-made, Aquarius. Yeah, and that's leaning onto the eclipses that's coming in Q4 of this year, particularly that November 8th total lunar eclipse that's conjunct Uranus in Taurus.
Because that's also a time, guys, where the let's say the last one of these Saturn Uranus exact squares, I think it is in October, will be, these will be very close again, end of this year. So I don't think personally we're out of the woods yet with these restrictions, especially again restrictions on society, restrictions on people as well, but these supply lines and prices increasing as well. And what did I want to say? Yeah, electricity. So yeah, Uranus is also electricity. Saturn, blocking it, causing problems to it. Prices will go up. So yes, we will get, especially for those of us who are in these northern hemispheres places, where it gets colder during winter. We'll get a break during the summer from these kind of huge rises, but we're not out of the woods yet. We'll be most likely out of the woods from. I want to mention, maybe before I say that, I want to mention North Node in Taurus as well, because Taurus is material goods, and now when North Node, one of the biggest indicators of where our consciousness, where our attention as a society goes, when North Node is there, also the prices can increase. We have kind of like a double whammy, in my opinion. We have the shortages and limitations, and now the attention goes on to the goods as well. Means prices will continue to rise and will be high. Now, especially important to remember that North Node is still at the end degrees of Taurus, which are the more difficult degrees to any influence to be in. So the North Node influence is going to be especially harsh for human beings. And remember, end of Taurus degrees is also Algol, we can say the most malefic star. Maybe it's a good good way to describe it. So that means like the increase in prices, the kind of like the effect for people, human beings, the kind of annoyance from these matters will be a little bit more harsher. For now, it will start to be a little bit less and less, but I wouldn't wait for these things to kind of end very quickly and very soon. Just giving my personal indication, it will start to ease up a little bit from January 2023, but still sign-based square of Saturn and Uranus will be until March of 2023. So that's when I see things getting a little bit easier. And after North Node moves out of Taurus, it's around, what was it, June, May 2023, I think.
I think it's the July.
July. Okay, July. So that's when I think most will be, let's say, the cycle will be kind of ending, that more difficult, and we'll start to move towards more balanced. The supply lines will start working, more goods will be on the market, so everything will start to
Or maybe
normalize.
that's when all the things get truly rewired all over. Whatever the sub is really like rewired by then or slightly before.
I think we'll see definitely lots of changes with this, and also I wanted to mention this. I think it's important because we have North Node in Taurus and Uranus in Taurus as well. Uranus, remember, as I said, is electricity. Taurus is natural, and I think a lot of attention from the humans right now, because we see the problematic places of when electricity is coming from other countries, and we're paying for these things. We're going to be moving as a society towards renewable energies, wind, solar, whatever is kind of natural. And I think with Uranus there, it will be even things we might not even right now comprehend. It can be something totally innovative, like North Node and Uranus together. I think for me paints a picture of something totally innovative in those renewable energy spaces as well. Now restrictions, I want to loosely mention restrictions as well, about the V restrictions and like societal restrictions in general with the passports and everything. The Jupiter right now is, most people, you are seeing that Jupiter is a little bit expanding. Like Denmark, for example, let everything go. They don't have any restrictions. I would hold my horses, guys, a little bit here to kind of go with the euphoria of it, and just I already again started hearing like everything is going to be okay, and all the restrictions are going to be gone. Most likely not yet, guys. Similar timelines apply here with the restrictions. I think they will start to ease up. You will start to see some easing up hopefully March 2023, maybe a tiny tad bit earlier, 2023ish. We will start to see that.
I think
But I
with
think, yeah,
I
go ahead.
think if people go back and revisit my 2022 prediction video, they will look at the Andrea Babos global cyclical index, and we will truly bottom out around Q2 to Q3 of 2023, and that is also when Venus goes retrograde in Leo. And I've also briefly, before this recording, I've looked at what is that retrograde in Leo is about, and also the star point that forms when Sun kisses Venus retrograde. And overall, I would say that we would have, by the time in Northern Hemisphere, it's approaching summer, that everything will bottom out, and there's no way furthermore downwards to go than up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good time to also. I also showed that Barbeau graph on
Yeah.
my yearly for Libra. So guys, go check our yearly videos out as well. Donny did. I think you did the overall. You did the Scorpio
Scorpio,
as well.
yeah. Yeah.
You did double, and I did the Libra. So guys, go check those yearly reviews. They're free. They're up online. Go check those out as well. So I think we covered a couple of things shortly. Jupiter in Pisces. I forgot to mention this. I think in my yearly review, and I wanted to bring it. Just a couple sentences.
Mm.
It will also, unfortunately, it will be easier to go towards substance, alcohol. Kind of like drug abuse as well, because Jupiter
All right.
does expand it. And remember, guys, we're dealing with right now still, we're in the like lower spheres of these energies. And the heaviness, the anxiety, these things that we're feeling. So it's easier to turn to these addictive behaviors, addictive substances. I wouldn't recommend it personally. I would recommend keeping out of those things. Go towards that positive side of Jupiter in Pisces, which is spirituality, kind of like these higher realms to transform, and healing, higher healing, energies, we can say, are available for us as well, to let go of some of these past hurts, let go of some of these, even energetic, I would say energetic imprints that we still carry on with us. And yeah, just do your best to love more of yourself. Then it's easier to love others next to you, around you. Then we'll make it out of this together as well.
Yeah, I
So,
think in the shorter term, because I'm just looking at the transit charts and looking at the essential dignities, most importantly. So when Mercury, Venus, and Mars are still in the sign of Capricorn, and that will last till the end of first week of March of 2022, we may not feel as much of Jupiter's optimism as we should. And this is because while Mercury, Venus, and Mars are in the sign of Capricorn, they are all placing Jupiter into fall position. So we may not be able to kind of open up as much until March kicks in, actually, the end of first week of March, when Mars and Venus actually get out of Capricorn to go into Aquarius. Probably that's when we start to feel the Jupiterian optimism and powers. But having said that, don't get too over optimism and start abandoning protocols.
guys, I
Because
think,
it can be
yeah,
used against us. Yeah.
I think that's really important to understand what Johnny just said. Please just, re-listen to it. I would say, the optimism can come, and I see a lot of it happening already, or the kind of like sprinkles of it coming already. And
Because as we know, the narrative, once Jupiter entered Pisces, the narrative actually changed quite a bit. Like I think the WHO, WHO,
yeah, yeah,
and the CDC, they changed their tone, like as in like recognizing natural immunity, etc. That's one of the things I picked up, amongst other things, and you can see the narrative shifting. But then, having said that, we do have Mars retrograde in Gemini, squaring Neptune 3 times. later this year when all the eclipses are going on, and that will probably the energy will persist all the way till Mars in Gemini actually finishes its retrograde cycle and get out fully out of Gemini. So it'll be around Q1 of 2023. So till then, I would say cautious optimism. I would say that, yeah,
Totally agree.
yeah, cautious
Totally
optimism.
agree.
So do you
Okay.
want to share
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. Oh, there he's there.
okay, so we start off with the month actually with a bang. Really,
Oh yeah, oh
with
yeah.
a new moon. But I want to save this juicy bit because I find this new moon being very prominent and it's been building up for the past few weeks actually, um, up to its exactitude on 31st January or 1st of February, depending where you are. So I think we can move a bit forward to February 3rd.
Oh yes.
Actually, we'll just come back to this lunation later. And then 3rd of February, that's when Mercury stations direct. And to kind of bring together the theme of how to handle Mercury post retrograde, because there's still some loose ends to tie up. Because when this Mercury retrograde finishes, like in a few days, it is still in conjunction with Pluto,
Yeah, I want to bet you that
actually.
myself. Yes.
And the merging of the cosmic messenger, which is Mercury, with the god of the underworld, which is Pluto or Hades, could feel like the or I should say that it feels like an extension of the retrograde. So we are still not out of the woods, so to speak. And when I think about Mercury Pluto, I think the notion of us having deep thought or even paranoid thoughts may be quite prevalent. And that might be this theme of we just can't stop analyzing the next steps forward as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And but having said that, since Mercury is in the sign of Capricorn, I think it'll be really useful for us to, or at least help us to kind of build a new foundation for ourselves. So since it has station direct and it is in its last little trip down memory lane over those past degrees, now it's time to really probably sit down and write down what are the more tangible stuff and realistic stuff that you can achieve. Maybe over the retrograde period, there's just a lot of things playing on in your mind. And then you now have to just kind of filter stuff along the way and see what's workable, what's not. And I think I would say that Mercury will serve as what Mars will do actually in going deep and finding the answers through intense research and uncovering critical or crucial information, especially with that Pluto coming around. Because where Mercury is stationing direct was where previously where Venus was conjuncting that Pluto before she actually turned retrograde. So it's almost like this overlapping of what Venus actually brought, and then she just swung backwards, and then Mercury just kind of stationed forward right at that point. So it's that kind of energy. So no wonder there's a lot of relationship power struggles and very serious and very deep conversations. Mostly stuff that's previously unsaid or misunderstood or being swept under the carpet that now is being like flushed up like from the gutter.
Totally. Okay, I would like to say a couple of things here. I would even because this is a place where I can bring in some of that story, that personal story that I went through during these retrogrades, and I didn't expect it to be this deep, but the Pluto surprised me a little bit. It almost felt like it was, almost like generational pain and generational trauma
Right.
starting to merge, and when these two are together, their thoughts, like Donny mentioned, these can get really, can get heavy, can get dark, it can get suspicious, it can be like, these are the darker side of this. And I really like to make it as organizable as possible. So make kind of like lists, even still make, like, write it out, because the thoughts can be like almost like too scared about the foundations, the future, whatever you're working on as well, and relationship wise, really understand the deeper things that are happening between the two of you. Just because a couple of things, most likely you will each have your own trauma that is coming up still, your own pain of the other person, or perceiving the other person doing something to you that they might not actually be doing.
Mm.
So this is very much where conflict actually happens, and especially with Pluto, Venus, everything together. And just, guys, look at where the terms are. It's Mars and Saturn term, extra heavy. Um, so be clear about what is it that you're actually experiencing, what you're feeling, what you're saying to them. Make sure it's really the thing that's going on, and allow your two of you to kind of even take breaks and then come back together and discuss it again, because the energies can get so murky. The communication can be a little bit meanish as well. So
Mm.
it's easier to say mean things to each other instead of actually going deeper, 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 and understanding the underlying issue or problem that you're having. Because when you understand the actual underlying issue, it's much easier to start fixing and understanding it. Actually understanding and then fixing it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that you can use this forward flowing post Mercury retrograde energy to actually follow up on messages or conversations that somehow got lost in the mix during the backspin. And you can perhaps check in on group chats that's gone quiet. Maybe it's gotten, so when Pluto's involved, I keep on thinking that, conversations can go a bit like tiki tiki boom boom, like people overreacting, and people, can just
Oh
blow things
yeah,
out of proportion and all that.
totally.
And just to check out on how each other's faring, and probably to check out whether do you still think the same way, or when this Mercury station direct energy has kind of helped you to see things from a different perspective, because that can occur as well. But overall, I would say that once Mercury actually stations direct on February 3rd, that means no retrograde planets in the sky until April 29th. Um, Particularly for that Mercury retrograde station direct in a few days' time, I think it will honestly be easier to communicate, reconnect with people, and to think more clearly now that Mercury is in direct motion. So, like work projects, social plans, and relationships uh, can honestly flow more smoothly. And if you've gotten some kind of business plans that uh, you're you're being drawn to develop, now that Mercury will be stationed direct in a few days' time, it's time to really kind of distill those ideas. Maybe become clearer to you which direction you need to go in terms of career, or like some career related projects.
I think what you just said is a big theme of this month in general. What is the direction of my professional work career?
What's your game plan
Whether
for 2022?
what's
Yeah.
your game plan? What do you need to shift? What is the area direction you need to take for sure? I think
Yeah.
it's a pretty good month to make those decisions, and start moving forward like the
Mhm.
planets.
So you want to shift 1 day forward to the 4th. And this one is actually pretty nice because about a day after Mercury stations direct, we've got this supportive aspect, which is Mars in Capricorn sextile Jupiter in Pisces.
Talk about some strong planets.
Oh, yeah.
Well dignified planets.
And, like Mars in Capricorn is all about that winning energy, right? To win at the top of your game, you just kind of like, it's that boss bitch kind of energy. Every time when I see Mars in Capricorn. So from February 4th, I think this one will last till February 8th. Yeah. So Mars is up to some kind of, I would say, serious game. um, from its exalted position in Capricorn.
Look at this
And
term as well.
oh
Mars
yeah,
Jupiter term.
and
Yeah.
Mars will also form a supportive sextile with that Jupiter in Pisces,
Oh
and
yeah.
then at the same time forming a trine to Uranus and Taurus as well.
That's building up as well, guys.
Yeah, so
Very
from February
good.
4th to 8th, there's this kind of energy. And I think honestly, February 4th to 8th will be when all the work that we did in January will begin to show some progress, or it may become more, it may blossom actually. And because you've got Jupiter that brings in the vision forward, which is a Jupiter in Pisces energy, and Mars actually brings us that drive and tenacity and a hopefully positive attitude. And this might actually fuel our ambitions. So you may and that Mars trining Uranus over this 4 or 5 days may actually bring us even more insights. What's in store for us for the future, and we may set up our game plan for the rest of the year. I think around these few days, it's very supportive.
I really like it. Guys, I gotta say, we will talk about the new moon, which
Mm.
is really heavy, in my
Yeah.
opinion, really heavy. But this aspect is kind of like, and the two aspects are actually the ones I'm almost like counting on to give us a boost during this heaviness and still continue working, continue putting in the efforts. And yes, the ambition will increase. Yes, the sexual energy, sexual drive will increase as well. Jupiter expands. But it's kind of like, maybe not overly over the top because it's still Mars in Capricorn. It's kind of like, in my mind, it's I want to win. I kind of want to win in this gradual way, this gradual ambitious way, and just move and move. And I want to win, and the ambition is there, the energy is there, the kind of courage actually is there as well to move towards your long-term goals, projects, dreams,
I
futures.
particularly like that Mars trying to Uranus, both in Earth signs, because that can actually bring in that innovative, original approach to our strategies. Maybe give our strategies or plans that extra oomph or something. And you'll find that probably over February 4th to 8th, you'll be able to make decisions and take risks with more firmness and without fear. Because also that Mars sextile Jupiter give us more courage as well.
Total. I think it's a really, like, almost like a courageous aspect. I would call it.
There's a big
and
but though.
I would use it, guys. I just want to mention to use it as well because like we're talking about here courageous and da da da, but you need to put something out there. Give it a go. This is
Yeah.
this is kind of like the time to do it. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the only caveat here, or the only doozy, is that Mars will also be in a square to Chiron.
Hmm.
Yeah, approaching. So, um, and Chiron is in Aries. So Chiron is the centaur of healing, but in Aries means that the wound is surrounding you not being heard or seen as well. So at the same time, this may also bring up a crisis of sorts that makes us kind of relive a wound. But if we actually face it head on, Aries, we can shift our position from being a victim, because the downside of that Mars in Capricorn, sextile Jupiter in Pisces, Pisces is a sign of victimhood as well. So even though it's a sextile, it can also bring that energy in. But if we actually work through our chironic wounds, we can switch our mentality from, oh, I have no choice, I'm just a victim, I have to go along with the narrative, blah, 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 even if it's BS, you know what I mean? And
I
then,
totally. I'll just. I will. Oh, sorry. I think this is. This. I think what you're saying really applies to this because
uh,
look at the moon as well here, square. Go ahead.
but then we can change our mindset from victim to victorious. So it's that change of mind shift. Maybe, from February 4th to 8th, because of Mars's supportive aspects to Uranus and Jupiter, it may give you the extra push to go for stuff. But then that square to Chiron may kind of let you pull yourself back. Where am I sure? Am I really sure that I can do this? Kind of thing. And the stumbling block here is actually Chiron. Yeah.
Maybe we will add then again because for me the Saturn Sun
Yes.
conjunction is a bit of a similar energy. So we have kind of like two things that are kind of like holding us back, and then we have kind of like these two aspects that are pushing us forward. Like you can do this. You are courageous. You're ambitious. Da da da. You can make it happen. And then maybe there's an older person says like you're not good enough for this, or triggers that wound, stops you on your tracks, and then you like, oh, I don't care, I just will push through, I will just make my things happen, I will make my business happen, and f you, man. So, just a quiet f you to the person. It doesn't have to be out loud, and
I
that.
would actually think that Sun and Saturn conjunction over these few days, while Mars is getting all those aspects going on with him, that Sun and Saturn conjunction might be the one that seal the deal of things, as in like on our actions at least, that commitment to certain actions. And because when I think about Sun and Saturn, it brings some kind of permanence. So
Totally.
whatever happens or you decide on from February 4th to 8th, it will somehow crystallize into some form of tangible action in which you go and do it.
I I totally agree, guys. Remember, this is a new cycle for Saturn and Sun as well for the two of them. So it kind of starts a new cycle here in Aquarius. Just you have to also remember, like, it isn't always Saturn isn't always super easy. So at first it can bring somebody who's like really harsh with you, and then like, I'm going to still do it, and I'm going to put in the effort, and I'm going to continue, and I'm putting in the work. This is for me what is happening here, because it can dampen at first, and then you have to go.
Yeah, so I would say bringing us back to that Mars in Capricorn and Jupiter in Pisces. Every time when I look at this combination of things in Capricorn sextile, something in Pisces, is really about learning the important skill of grounding dreams into reality and to have a creative love that is eternal and timeless. With the eyes of one's inner child. This
Ooh.
Pisces is the inner child as well. And I think it's also opening us up in February that anything is possible because circumstances have changed, after this pandemic started. And just allow that pure energy of creation. to manifest and flow through yourself in February, because it's a very strong month for opportunities and manifestation, honestly.
So ground your dreams into material form.
But I just want to mention that
Material form.
if you want to tap into that kind of energy, you need to probably, for some who are more spiritual, they can add this actually can be a month to do a lot of shamanic practices when I think about it, because well, if to dabble in it at least, because this will actually help you to raise your consciousness, and via that it actually helps you to develop a keen sense of spiritual awareness, with Capricorn being on the practical physical plane and Pisces on the spiritual one. So it's merging the practical physical with the spiritual, which is that Capricorn and Pisces energy intermingled. Yeah.
I would do like water yoga if there's such a thing, or some like hot yoga where there's like like you get all watery. I think that's good.
I thought in Capricorn it should be cold, right?
That's why I hesitated saying hot yoga. I like the watery aspect of the hot yoga. When you get wet in that area, like it will actually be good. I think with the Pisces Jupiter, what's it, sextile? If you can find that, if you can find some kind of like waterish yoga.
Oh, aqua aerobics.
What?
Aqua aerobics.
Oh, aqua aerobics. I think that's a good one, actually.
Like
Yeah,
Pisces
cold
water, right? Yeah.
Cold water.
Cold.
Aqua aerobics.
Chlorinated as well. And like Capricorn, there's certain routines you need to follow the instructor, and probably like in the midst of you zoning out, doing that.
Kind of smack your face. Smack your
Or some
your
people
feet.
may be, actually some people might be thinking about, those kind of floating pods, PODS, that you just submerge yourself into this high concentration of Epsom salt water that you literally float in like a very dark pod.
I've actually done that. That's really good.
Yeah, and it also relaxes the body, and that Pisces is really about free floating Pisces. While you're floating and you're just zoning out, maybe something will come into you, or maybe just purely meditation, that Capricorn and Pisces energy. Yeah.
I would personally, I like to do some meditation with like a physical side to it. So here I would maybe add some sort of physical movement to the meditation itself. But
yeah. Maybe just doing some Tai Chi.
Qigong, maybe. Yeah, Tai Chi.
Qigong as well. Something that regulates your breathing in a way that there's a rhythm to the way you breathe and all that. And you're almost in that quasi-meditative mood that can actually help you get some clarity about certain things. Because the world is very different now compared to pre-2020. So just open up yourself to possibilities this month, because that will somehow formulate your game plan for the rest of the year, I would say. And why not we move to the... How about the 8th? 8th, yeah. Because that is when... was it 8th? How about the 9th? I think we are a day forward then. Yeah. So, okay, that Mercury-Pluto last conjunction.
Coming up.
So it happens on the 9th or 10th, depending where you are. And probably that day I would keep to myself more. Down to the 11th, because as I mentioned, that when I always think about Mercury and Pluto, the mind can go tiki boom boom. So you can be overreacting to things as well.
Here you can see Moon is conjunct Algol around 8th, 9th.
And forming a trine actually to Pluto and Mercury. So there's a chance for you to lose your Okay.
I would say it's good for spiritual work, like in a private space, if possible, with people you trust. Maybe like I call them spiritual therapists. I have a few that I like to go to.
You know
If you
what
don't
I
have
thought
one,
of?
check it
Write,
out.
writing out your traumas that day and kind of burn it later.
I think that's a good one. I think that's actually a pretty good one, guys, for this. Because it will feel you will feel the intensity of this. Because every time moon is on Algol, people are a little bit more aggressive, as
Yeah.
well. And now with the Pluto and Mercury both conjunct, the kind of intensity is there. In the term of Mars, remember.
But I think also, if you have been in that mode of like always feeling victimized, dominated, being controlled by others, that Mercury and Pluto conjunction in Capricorn can really let you step into your power as well.
I think
Yeah.
that's the deeper side of it.
Yeah.
um but like if you like guys, if you do like the deeper work, if you go like let's say see a spiritual therapist, write your traumas down, through those workings, through that energy, you will see actually how powerful you are. It's easy to kind of empower yourself. Like in my mind, the empowering or the kind of liberation from your wounds, and then the thought liberation doesn't come on its own as well. So the kind of, I think what we're saying, and at least what I'm saying, and Donny can say his bit, but like the energy is there for you to liberate yourself from these things, but you have to put a little effort in yourself as well.
And I think just bringing us slightly backwards from February 4th to 8th, when Mars is forming all those nice aspects, except for that square to Chiron. On this day, like on the 9th and 10th, probably 11th, it's really the time of whatever insights that you've gained in the earlier first um, first 5 to 8 days of February. Now is the time to really cut away those that is not workable and focus on those that can be making you more successful and propel you forward on the longer term. So that can also be one of the supportive aspects as well, because when Mercury and Pluto both trine the North Node, this can really be opening up that portal of knowing that, okay, what's your permanent plans for the future that can build your structure upwards, that make you feel that you're in control of your destiny at least, and the routes that you take and the ideas that you wanna use to your advantage. All those energies can be brought in over this February 9th to 11th, even 12th actually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. So where are we? I think now we
I
have the
think
13th
we
or the
are going to
14th.
be, yes, Valentine's Day.
Yeah, guys. Beep boop beep boop.
Maybe skip one day,
Not
like
even
one day forward, because yeah.
15th. Mm-hmm.
So depending where you are, it could be on Valentine's Day or it could be like just after Valentine's Day. That's when Mercury ingresses into Aquarius.
Mm-hmm. Also the conjunction as well. Which one do you want to take first? The conjunction or the
I
ingress?
think, well, I think because let's talk about that Mars and Venus, because they're actually starting, or actually started on Valentine's Day. That that kiss between both of them, and they will continue to be together all the way till way into Aquarius before they separate and move on with their own own ways. But this time, I must say that it's a bit different because usually Venus is the faster moving planet, and usually Venus is the one that catches up to Mars and grab Mars from the back.
Not this time. Not this time.
But this time is the other way. Like Venus is really slow, and Mars is grabbing Venus from the back. So is that initially, because this is in the backdrop of Venus retrograde, so Venus has entered the underworld, even more so when it conjuncted Pluto just before she went retrograde, and now she's just gaining strength and speed. Oh. And both Mars and Venus are both approaching to Hades or Pluto. So there's this kind of like Venus has more help in this case, and probably with Mars fanning it from her behind, pardon the term.
I think that was pretty darn exact, I would say.
And also Mars is in its own sign of exaltation, so Mars has got its strength there. It may help us to really stand up for ourselves, honestly. A lot.
I also really like it for boundary setting as well. Especially, boundary setting can happen in different situations, but a lot of boundary setting still happens in relationship, in business relationship. And I think this is one of those moments for us, especially as we begin this conjunction, to really be courageous enough, especially if you're ruled by Venus, but others as well, to be courageous and set some firm boundaries, take initiative. And the beginning I like a little bit more here, because guys, you can see it's in Venus terms, so it will be easier for Mars to kind of see the Venusian diplomacy energy as well. In other words, Mars is kind of like go direct, and not really seeing other people. But here Venus gives our kind of ambition and drive to see other perspectives, see other people's perspective, even kind of acknowledge others on our path and other partners on our path as well. So I think that Venus term really will help until we get into these last ones, Saturn and Mars.
But having said that, right, this time is a bit different because it's Mars that caught up with Venus, right? Instead of the other way. And when I think about it, it's also about after this Venus retrograde, maybe there's some people we want to leave behind.
Definitely, it is a cutting energy as well. I think it's a time where there's like this is not working out.
Because the ruler of everything in Capricorn is that Saturn in Aquarius, to kind of remove abruptly as well.
Although if I'm looking at this, if I should make a prediction, let's say, I think the cutting off, and things coming to light in these partnerships, in your partnerships and relationships, most likely will come when these two characters here, Mars and Venus, will catch up to Pluto and start to be in the last degrees of Capricorn.
So the rest of February.
Yes.
Mostly.
second part of February or
right.
Beginning of March, I think, as well.
Right. And this is in
boundaries.
And this is in the backdrop of an imminent full moon in Leo, in which we'll cover later.
We'll cover later.
And let's talk about that Mercury first that ingress into Aquarius around the 14th or 15th, depending where you are. Because when I see Mercury moving into the sign of Aquarius, I think on a collective level, we are actually hungry for knowledge and open to new, innovative and original ideas. And we may also begin to think outside of the box. And our thinking also becomes more detached, objective, and also progressive. Thought patterns and communication styles, which is ruled by Mercury, can become more spontaneous, very off the go or off the fly. but also somewhat fragmented and but also liberal as well. And inventive thinking comes into mind when I think about Mercury in Aquarius. And for some astrologers, including myself, I think Mercury is exalted in Aquarius.
Me too. I totally
Yeah.
agree.
And so we will focus on, at least on the mental plane, Mercury, um, to look into the future, which is Aquarius. And then things will start moving very quickly because when Mercury enters Aquarius, Mercury speed also picks up from here onwards until the next until Mercury slows down for the next retrograde. But Mercury in Aquarius, it picks up speed, and that's why it will just zip quite fast through the sign. Very swift in terms of movement. So you will find that when Mercury leaves the sign of Capricorn, messages will be delivered delivered faster and faster. Deals will be sealed faster and faster. And there will always be this element of change in the air that can be also quite exciting as well. And since when Mercury goes back into Aquarius, well, Mercury is not a he or she, it's actually both. Mercury is actually finishing its shadow degree pretty fast. Mercury is finishing the shadow degrees pretty fast from now onwards after it re-enters Aquarius. So you will find in the second half of February, things will move pretty fast for the rest of the month. Yeah.
I really like Mercury in Aquarius personally, like Donny, and I think this is a really good time for us to get those innovative ideas, get those innovative, or get that innovative information from all around, because there will be a lot of information exchange between people in groups, in social media, in Facebook groups, whatever group member you are, there will be a lot of information exchange there. It is good, in my opinion. It's always good to take some of the more important ones, write it down. You can start to digest it later and take action with it as well. The only, maybe the negative side of the Aquarius energy here with Mercury is it's very detached. So the communication, the information will be practical and kind of like material, I would say. Sometimes, yes, kind of like looking into the future and these higher themes as well. But like the communication can be really detached, so there's not a lot of emotional closeness in our communication with each other. And also because there's so much coming in, so much information coming in, so many pieces of information exchanged, it can get a lot for the mind. It can get kind of like over buzzing almost with ideas and knowledge and wisdom. And like the curiosity of Mercury is also like that. I'm interested in so many things, Aquarius, and I can't really focus on one thing. It shouldn't, be too hard on yourself. Again, like make notes and come back to it later and pick up the
You know
information
what Mercury in
when it's
Aquarius
coming to
reminds
you.
me?
Go ahead.
It's like opening up your browser and having 32 different windows all
Like
at once.
50 tabs open,
Yeah,
like
50 tabs, and then you're just going back and forth and just trying to read every single freaking thing
there's
out
so
there in the
much
world. So
coming
the
in.
brain can become overloaded, and hence our nervous system gets really stretched as well. Unless you know how to compartmentalize, which is Aquarius energy.
That's one of the reasons, guys. I recommend writing it down, making notes, because it's like piece here coming in, piece there coming in, constantly coming in. Your ideas, your brain is on overload as well. So, yeah, step
Yes.
away from technology once in a while if you can, and do some grounding exercises. Close the phone, put the phone and internet and stuff
Yeah.
away for a while as well. It will help you ground. Although I know it's difficult to do during Mercury in Aquarius.
It's almost like we are supercharged in or plugged into the information highway that Mercury in Aquarius. So our minds go all over the place.
Like connected to all of humanity's
Yes.
thoughts.
Or being plugged in as well towards that. Yeah. So the mind doesn't really get a break. So now let's move forward to 18th.
Where are we? 16, 17. Where? Oh, there it is.
And this one is actually pretty nice because Jupiter and Uranus are forming a sextile.
Yes. Here they are.
So a lot of positivity, exuberance, philosophical thoughts as well might emerge. And unique belief systems is very much that sextile energy between these two planets. And you might actually approach that with a zealous attitude. So if you get into philosophical debates over like, plus minus 1 day from this exact date, just beware that uh, if you take it too far, then you may just become like a moral crusader.
Yeah, like social media, like social media in Uranus, trying to fix everybody.
I know I'm
It's
right. No, you're wrong. No, I'm right. I mean, I just go back and forth, and it's like, I believe in this, you believe in that. It's like, yeah. And this is also a day to feel free and to make some kind of changes that you've been contemplating to change, but just put it in the back burner. And this sextile is actually very, very good for that. And by the way, this sextile I absolutely love, because when I see Jupiter and Uranus in a supportive aspect, I call this aspect "Thank the Lord" aspect.
Thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord, yeah. Because there's almost like a change of fate, like, yeah. Especially if you've been feeling stuck. Yeah. Every time when I see a Jupiter Uranus supportive aspect like a trine or sextile, conjunction is a bit, a mixture in terms of energy, but trine and sextile are actually quite good. Like, yeah. I would even buy a lotto ticket that day just to try my luck.
It's an interesting thing. I think it will. The financial markets have gotten a beating. I think this is a place where some of it, at least, might react positively because of that Jupiter sextile coming in to Uranus in Taurus. Mercury is much better now as well, so I think the markets will pick up again. I wanted to also say, like, expansion of contacts is possible here as well, because still Uranus is the social connections and the groups we have. So whenever Jupiter sextiles it, even I've noticed actually, guys, whenever Jupiter opposes or squares it, even then the connections might happen, but the connections then might not work out, or they might seem better than they are. But in a sextile, in a trine, usually new contacts or like, let's say, our address book or contact book will expand as well.
Maybe you want to join like a spiritual group
Oh, nice.
activity. This
Spiritual group that goes to nature walks or something.
Walking children in nature, yeah. Maybe that's the name of the group. Walking children in nature. Or this can be also very good if for example, if you want to sign papers pertaining to divorce papers.
Huh.
And you want to settle some monetary stuff. A sextile can actually mean that you'll probably get what you want, yeah, on those days.
Yeah, looking at that conjunction as well, maybe that would work out. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I want like 51% of whatever assets, you know what I mean? Like you probably may, leading towards this date, may actually negotiate to something that kind of like is very close to what you want. That's why I say is thank the Lord.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah, thank the Lord. Because there's almost like a turn of events that could be swinging in your favor.
You know what I also wanted to say about this? It's kind of like almost like a positive mindset towards achieving your future goals as well here momentarily. With everything else going on, I think you, I think you might get a boost, or we would all get a boost here. Just, you know, things can move forward, but I'm not. In a way, I see things moving forward here, but I'm a little bit still with 2022. I'm not jumping on the like yay bandwagon just yet, guys. Just let's keep working and let's receive this boost in a grounded way.
But honestly, when I said before, like there's opportunities and also manifestation energies that's active playing throughout February, I'm not lying, because when I see all these aspects that's supportive, mostly trines and sextiles, um, those may work in your favor. Develop your game plan and make sure that you succeed for 2022. If you felt that, the last years, you can't get it back, right, for the last 2 years of your life. So you may actually become so much more social with Jupiter, Uranus in sextile as well.
And remember, guys, Mercury is in Aquarius, so there's going to be a lot of things happening online, social media, contacts, messages, do. Your phone is going
And
to be red.
on the same day as well, maybe you can skip one day forward.
19th.
And that is where we get into Pisces season.
Oh yeah.
So previous day we've got like, potentially thought-provoking, rebellious, on the move, and incredibly independent energy of Jupiter sextile Uranus. But then the next day we move into Pisces season, and we may be driven by a more feelings of altruism, and probably we may feel somewhat less motivated to do what we are to feel, imagine, and dream, because Pisces can be quite passive in a lot of ways.
Donny, escapism.
Well, but Pisces is also like what will be anyways, the kind of attitude. So, but however, having said that, we are more attuned to universal energies. We are almost guided by that sense of universal correlations as well. And not to mention that Pisces also rules empathy, selfless love, devotion, and also spiritual wisdom, for that matter. But of course, like if you think about the shadow side, this can be self-pity, feeling that you're a victim of life, and also very evasive or elusive. Yeah.
Remember, guys, victimhood can be an addiction as well. So this is a time, Pisces season, Sun in Pisces, Jupiter in Pisces, Neptune in Pisces, a lot of Pisces energy. It's easier to go towards those, those negative things we mentioned at the beginning of the video as well, like addictions and the negative ones. I won't repeat them. Basically, it's better to go. I really love Pisces season because it really opens up creativity as well, like the artistic side, the creative side. And for those of you like, oh yeah, but I work in a corporation, whatever, there's still room in most areas to work your creativity into things and approach things differently. Obviously, if you're in a spiritual business, spiritual matters or artistic, it's easier. It's a good time to do those things, but still use that Pisces energy in a positive way. Do spiritual things, go to do spiritual practices and creative artistic stuff as well.
So you reckon like massage parlors, spas will be like more filled up?
Definitely. I just came from a spa as well, guys. I highly recommend it. It's
very much Pisces energy here.
after that huge Venus and Mercury retrograde, it's really good to get a day in a spa. So check that out.
And if you're like all like ticklish and stuff, just opt for foot massage. That's Pisces for you.
Feet.
Because Pisces is really where we discharge energy from our body as well. So that's why people visit like have a facial, relax, you know what I mean? You have the 2 cucumbers on your eyes, 2 slices of cucumbers, and if not, like, have a body work or massage and have some kind of, just just it can also be adjusting your meridian points as well. That's Pisces. And that can actually help you to rewire your system so that you're more ready to take on what's ahead of you. So in essence, Pisces season, of course, it feels like, easy and dreamy on one hand, but it also can be very magical and healing. And I would say that the sun's entrance into the sign of Pisces will somehow seed or plant a seed for that Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that will happen on April 12th later on. But we'll come back for April's forecast for that.
We will have so many conjunctions in Pisces, guys. Your head will spin, basically. It's just conjunction after conjunction after conjunction.
Oh, yeah. And if you think about Pisces' healing waters, this month is really about those Capricorn planets activating the healing waters of Pisces into the physical and material plane. So just like what Ian actually mentioned, just came back from a spa, very much of that Capricorn and Pisces energy as well. But it's coming from the Capricorn planets activating those Pisces planets. Yeah, that you can do something about it.
Guys, if you have Venus in Aries and you're like, spa is boring, go to a water park, go to an indoor water park, enjoy that. I know, just Venus in Aries. Just people, when they're in spas, they get a little bit antsy. They just want to move around. Anyway, just a side note.
Well, because the thing is that if I were to think about the correlation, what I mentioned before regarding Capricorn planets and Pisces planets when they are forming by sign-based sextile aspect, I mean, for the past 2 years, intense astrological alignments, agree? We've all have that. And I think this month is really like that self-care in order to kind of like, on one hand, kind of heal from the trauma, because a lot of things have happened like for us in the past 2 years, of course, and also to look forward to the future with the eyes of the inner child, which is that Pisces energy, to dream, to envision, because it is possible over all the trines and sextiles of this month.
God, I hope you're right, Donny. I really hope you're right. And I tend to agree with like the general overall energy. There's a little bit more of that easiness. There's
I would say in 2022, this is one of the nicer months.
Yeah, there's more
Much
good
nicer,
stuff happening than hard
Yeah.
stuff. But again, I'm going to dial back the optimism a little bit because we're going to look at the moons as well, lunations. So maybe your optimism will be a little bit dialed
But
down.
that's the overall theme. I shall leave it as that, and I still stand
Let's
by
put it
that.
that.
Yeah.
Let's
Yeah, the
put it that
overall,
way.
like as the month unfolds, you look back at February, it's like, it's not that bad, really.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
It's actually a much more supportive and quieter month, and it helped me in certain areas of my life. You know what I mean? To give it certain push forward. So now let's move on to February 23rd, 24th, because that's when we will have that Mars and Venus both sextiling Neptune.
Beep boop. Beep boop.
So very creative. We have probably a burst of energy, and with that also some kind of bonus. So if you're an artist in any way, shape, or form, or an actor, you may get the extra something on these few days.
I think creative people will really love this one. The only thing I'm a little bit worried about this because I was looking at the sextile as well, and Neptune is still in Mars terms, and Mars and Venus will be in Saturn terms. So there's a kind of like heaviness to it as well. I'm hoping Venus and Neptune together will dial it down a little bit of that heaviness and that kind of like pleasant Venusian, Neptunian flow of being in energy and being in creative energy. And then Mars will help it to put it in material form as well, not just float around in it and just eat, good food, but it will be the one who's kind of like, okay, so I'm feeling this creative energy, but let's do something about it. Let's put it somewhere as well. So this is what I see with this aspect
Oh yeah,
specifically.
you may actually feel that when you're approaching like these few days, like from the 24th, you just plus minus 1 or 2 days before and after, that you may be feeling more than usually compassionate. And boundaries, or a lack of actually boundaries in relationships, may actually occur. And when I see Mars and Venus sextile Neptune, you can be somewhat of a doormat to other people. So you may want to look out for that.
Yeah, it's like do whatever, I'm okay, whatever, just be there.
And you may find that your sensitive and emotional self is able to be expressed more vigorously as well over these few days. And just make sure that you enunciate and define properly what you mean to say, because anything, even if it's a sextile to Neptune, things can get lost in translation.
If you find yourself, guys, if you find yourself going too much towards, let's say, physical Taurusy things like good food, wine, these things, use that Mars to cut it off as well. Just like to not have that big belly afterwards, or that hangover the day afterwards, because it's a bit of a can happen. Let's put it that way.
But I would
Because
say, yeah,
yeah,
continue, please.
because in every, like, for me it easier with Neptune sextile Venus. It's easier to not overdo these things a little bit, but still, even with the sextile, the Neptune is so clever. It brings that I want to just enjoy myself, that type of thing, and that wine, that extra cheesesteak, whatever it is that's your thing, that is easier to come.
I think it's also a very nice date night. It's good for that as well. If you want to look for somewhere nice to, like, to catch up with, because honestly, like, end of February is when we've stepped up fully from that, or soon to be stepping up fully from that Venus and Mercury retrograde. So this can be like a patching up energy as well. If certain relationships has become quite rocky.
I'm just thinking about the retrograde. So
Yeah.
when you said it, it's so long. It's been so long, man.
Yeah.
So difficult. Oh.
So probably
yeah.
that's also when it's easier to get in tune with each other's emotions. That prior there's like some misunderstandings, or you find there's some difficulty in understanding how that person is thinking about and feeling.
Have some spiritual. Yeah, I really love what Donny said, actually. And after that date is done, have some of that energetic spiritual sex. It doesn't have to be all penetrative all the time. It just can be touch and feel and cuddling.
Couples massage.
Very good one.
Couples
And
massage.
awaken the energy in each other and stuff like that. Be more gentle here.
Sensual, not necessarily brutally sexual. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Neptune has that, more, it doesn't need to be vulgar. But of course, if you plan to go there, then it's like, all bets are off. So, but having said that, I like this sextile, Mars and Venus with Neptune, because this will actually persist until close to end of the month, until probably the 27th, when the sextile aspect fully separates. So from this date, actually, the last few days of February is actually very good if you want to manifest as well. So maybe
visualizations.
visualization, or if not, like go into a meditative mood and have some supportive meditative music and just go with it, you know. So find some kind of manifestation mantras, affirmations, those things that you can do for the last few days of February. Those might be actually pretty helpful in order to make your vision a reality.
Yeah, I even like
Yeah.
painting it right now when I'm looking at this. I really like even painting it because right now, if we're using the painting as well, we're actually putting into material form with the Capricorn energy as well. So it kind of like almost like we're visioning it, we're visualizing it, and then we're putting it in a tangible in a tangible way into the material reality.
Yeah.
Yes, that's what
And
I mean.
actually, on the same day, or maybe
Let's go.
one day later, um, while this sextile is going on between these three planets, we've actually got a Mercury Uranus square.
Ugh.
Uh, but on one hand, um, you may have genius ideas coming in that can be grounded, honestly.
That's very positive.
There's also positive, but on the other hand, because it's a square, it can also manifest as a restless mind and
Oh yeah.
off the cuff comments in communication that might piss the other person off. Things that you don't normally mean, but it's got that, it's understood as that, and hence it can happen that way. So it's easily to get misunderstood. In other words, you may also find that it's hard for your mind to concentrate, and you easily feel that mental or nervous tension within you.
Guys, this is if you have this, especially if you have this natally, but let's obviously in overall perspective as well. This is one of my, let's say, go-to aspects when I see it in a chart, when I see it in an overall chart. There's a certain kind of anxiety there within a person, and yes, they are in a communication, like Donny said. Usually there's more misunderstandings, and the anxiety is sometimes even so big. The person just like moving around at home, and they can't really almost like do anything. They're so anxious. They need to do something. They need to get some of that addictive things into their system. So please be careful here with this, and
And,
driving, and like literally driving as well. Not good for driving.
and if you operate a YouTube channel like me and Ian, I will not be publishing a video plus minus one day from the square. Yeah, because your words get misconstrued easily. Yeah.
Otherwise, I totally agree. This month, I made a kind of like a pledge to have at least one video per day for my personal channel. So I will probably be posting a video,
Yeah.
but generally, I do agree. There's more confusion. There's more aggression, kind of like almost like
Well, but it's very fleeting, I would say. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
definitely. It's not
it's like
when I
sprinkled
say
rather than just marinated in those energies.
yeah, basically it's like momentary reactions. But like even when I say about driving and anxiety, it will pass. But like you have to drive. Sometimes you still have to drive on these days. Just be more careful because the reactions and the like sudden events coming to you that day or during like couple 2 days around that time. Just be more careful all the
Yeah.
time.
And then I suppose the very last thing I want to mention about this Mercury Uranus square is that there might be feelings of conflict between practical ideas and things that just kind of you pluck from the air. So
Oh, just one more thing. Don't touch your freaking phone and don't be on social media, especially during this square when you're driving. Don't do that, guys.
I would
And
also
yeah,
go
okay.
on to say that if you want to rewire your electrical outlets these few days, I wouldn't bet on it that you go smoothly.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
That's a
because
really
electrical
good one.
outlets, right? When I think about earth and air, it's like that electricity from the wall, you plug it in. Earth and air. You still need to plug it in into something, right? So if you're planning to do some electrical works, yeah, I would kind of stay away from those few days. Maybe ask the repairman to come a few days later. Let's move on to the lunation,
We're
shall we?
almost. What was the next one? I can't remember.
Shall I share my screen
Our
so that you
lunations.
can
Our
hear?
lunations. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or do you want to share your screen?
I'm good with
Okay,
sharing
sure.
this. I don't know. You can share.
Okay, then I shall be talking from my PDF actually. And so we start off the month with a new moon. And what's really interesting is that, I've actually plotted in this asteroid that's called Hygeia that happens to be over this new moon in the sign of Scorpio at 10 degrees.
Squares.
So in essence, um, there's a T-square in the sky that's highlighted by this lunation. So 10 degrees of Scorpio, 10 degrees of Taurus, that's Uranus, and then 15 degrees of Aquarius, that's Saturn. So it's literally a T-square. And that 12 degrees Aquarius new moon actually highlights that. So I think this one, we've been feeling it for the past few weeks. And by the way, the last close to, but non-exact Saturn-Uranus square will happen in Q3 of 2023 within 1 degree orb. And then we are just done with that square. If I think about that Saturn-Uranus square, very symbolic of the protest going on by truckers in Ottawa against Canada's vax mandate. And I think this movement is called the Freedom Convoy.
Nice.
The term Freedom Convoy is very much that Saturn-Uranus square in the signs of Taurus and Aquarius, respectively. And if you think about truckers, don't you think that they are ruling the sign of Taurus in the supply chain, which is Uranus?
I would say they're very much connected to Uranus, Taurus, and Aquarius.
Yeah.
So
And then they
it's
call
right
it the
on the money.
Freedom Convoy.
Aquarius, Uranus, again, yeah, very much.
And this movement is actually gaining momentum, by the way. And if I were to tie in the theme by adding that Hygeia, which is at 10 degrees of Scorpio, forming a T square with Saturn and Uranus, this is very symbolic of this Freedom Convoy movement gaining momentum, spiraling into calls to repeal all public health rules. Why do I say that? This is because Hygeia is talking about health, cleanliness, sanitation, and one domain of this is public health as well. Because Hygeia is the sanitation goddess. I mean, back then in 2020, you know, the toilet paper incident is because of Hygeia, the sanitation goddess toilet paper. But this time it's more about the public health policies and rules, especially when it ties into Saturn and Uranus, the Hygeia. And when I think about Hygeia in Scorpio, Scorpio is all the shady stuff that gets flushed out from the gutter. And what this tells me is that the agenda of public health mandates is falling apart with this Hygeia in Scorpio. And I think that maintaining health, at least for the majority of humanity, which is that Saturn and Uranus energy, is actually through living with nature, with the acknowledgement that we've actually reached endemic status. This is what I get for this T-square. And one more thing, I find it very interesting because Mars and Venus both square Chiron. Actually, over this new moon. And probably around this new moon, we'll be having deep intuitions concerning what is not working, and in terms of people getting their spiritual needs met. So February, the spiritual theme actually continues with Neptune later on. And also to know what will work. So this month is really about deciphering what has worked for you moving forward and what has not done well for your own progress, and leave those stuff behind. It's about cutting cords in a way. And there's also a theme of healing others through helping them to get unstuck and to become more smooth in their forward journey or evolutionary journey. And I just want to mention here that the asteroid, which is called Vesta, is right beside Venus, by the way, at 11 of Capricorn. And Vesta also rules investments as well. And when I think about Vesta being tied in with Mars, Venus, both squaring Chiron, this is very symbolic of what's happening in the stock market lately, particularly for the past 1 or 2 weeks. It's basically like a roller coaster ride leading up to this lunation. And last but not least, this lunation also points to people being investment, but this time in protest and standing up as a collective to authoritarianism as the way to move things forward efficiently or with efficacy. Do you have anything more to add?
I'll have a bit to add here, guys. For me, I really, when I was looking at this new moon, I was making this kind of face at first, and then I was like, okay, let's try to look past the Saturnian difficulties here and the square. But what is going on here from let's say it can be a general global, but I think on a personal level, this felt like um, almost this heaviness to our creation or material creation in the world, and almost limitation, restriction coming our way. And this will be, I think the more sensitive ones, you are already experiencing this feeling, this leading up to this new moon. Usually it will get to the crescendo during the new moon, a little, maybe one day after, maybe one day before, when you're in the space of like, okay, I need to change something really deeply about where I'm headed. What am I creating in the world? I need to restructure it, and it feels very heavy, almost like, can I do it? There's so much to do. These things that I'm doing are quite big. Can I even make it happen? And it will not be comfortable. There can be also outer limitations, like people even saying things to you. Can you do it? Maybe there's a mix up, somebody, or better yet, somebody in a more what's the word I'm looking for? More powerful role will use their power almost, or experience and power position in society in a way to kind of maybe suppress you a little bit or throw some curveball at you as well. So but having said all of these difficult things and kind of like emotionally even more heavier and difficult and material new moon, I think these squares, these more difficult aspects, these Saturnian influences are here for us to literally break free from these matters as well, to liberate ourselves from these let's say organization structures at times, and to make our own dreams come true, make our own projects come true. And although heavy, I think it holds a lot of potential. This new moon, from the Donny mentioned financial markets and the stock markets, I'm a tad worried about this new moon to might have a drop here and there. Maybe that the markets have a dip here. because of the heaviness here and the square as well. Because before the new moon, usually something empties. New moon is that emptying influence. Something has to go, basically. Something has to leave. And from a personal point of view, like some projects may have to leave. Some material creation that we're making maybe needs some restriction, or some part of it has to leave. But usually some letting go still has to happen. And where I very often observe this in personal people's lives, but also like even the crypto stock market, something has to kind of boop, and then it can continue onwards once again. So I think this is the basic basis of what I wanted to say about this.
Just to mention also that the transit north node is at 27 degrees, the same degree and sign where the November 19th partial lunar eclipse was, at 27 Taurus as well. And there's an activation of the eclipse energy of that November 19th, 2021 eclipse. And the asteroid series, which is all about food and all the stuff that we use resource-wise, is also pretty close to that degree. So in other words, there's a eclipse activation.
One more thing that I now remember that I wanted to say about this, because it is the new moon is happening so close to Saturn, Uranus again quite close to the new moon as well. You can see it here. One of the things that really hit me is, again, the euphoria of everything's going to open up and da 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 is going to go on. But this new moon, unfortunately, guys, for me, more so talks about some new regulations in society, maybe some new restrictions, some weird, again, need the passport, need, again, the numbers go up, you need some weird thing to be able to walk around freely. So I see that as well.
But
Sorry, guys.
having said this, right, on a more like personal level, since the new moon is happening in the sign of Aquarius and is highlighting that closing square between Saturn and Uranus, and whenever I think about a closing square of Saturn and Uranus, I think about the keyword pivoting. So this is the new moon to really, it's almost like your last few chances that if you've not dealt with the need for change, this is kind of one of your last portals for that. And also,
I mean, if this new moon doesn't make you change some things in your life, I don't know which new moon will.
but because the thing is that it's in Aquarius, right? That's why the new moon is taking place, and it does actually give us a double dose of rationality and also objectivity. Whatever that we've learned before, and hopefully we've integrated all the learnings that we've done from that Venus and Mercury retrograde that we just had. Well, the Mercury one will still linger in February, but Venus as well. I think by March, when we clear everything, we look back at this new moon, it's like, have I actually dealt with whatever stuff that has gone on with that Venus and Mercury retrograde that occurred earlier? And if some hard decisions need to take place, then it's perhaps the perfect new moon to cut cords with the past, be it people, be it that job, be it that situation that you feel stuck in. Because that Aquarian energy is all about surprise and newness in energy. So
I think it will even force us into, for me personally, I already kind of felt the real intensity of this, and it's getting bigger. I think it will even like force us into action as well, because it will get so uncomfortable during certain moments. But again, guys, it's there for us to make those necessary changes, as difficult as they might be sometimes, and then go and move forward.
So okay. Do you want to add, or do you want to move on to the
think let's go. We're almost at 2 hours again, but that's okay. Let me put it a little bit further. Do, 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 do. 27 around
So even before I start
27.
saying anything, 27 degrees of a fixed sign, isn't that also the modality and the degree of that November 19, 2021 lunar eclipse again? So there's also an eclipse activation over this full moon.
And Mars and Saturn terms, guys. Eesh. Again, I'm making that face. Sorry, guys, but let's dive deep. Do you want to start, Donny, or what's?
Where should I start?
Freaking
Since we're talking about Leo, right? Leo is about anything that's grandiose. First and foremost, there's it's also the brave heart in all of us. And we may actually encounter feelings between pouring our energy on us or the collective. There's very much of that full moon in Leo, right? That Leo Aquarius axis. But I would think that because Leo, the base meaning is to shine. And so it's like, it's time to shine. If you have been just kind of sitting in the, in the audience as a fan and you've not been acknowledging your own uniqueness and how special you are as an individual.
Mm-hmm.
And having said that, I just want to pick up that Mars and Venus actually 2 hours before this Leo new moon formed the exact conjunction. So this might actually bring in some way, shape, or form, relationships, creativity, money. I would say also some excitement to bring along because when you talk about the axis of Aquarius and Leo, there can be this kind of excitement that comes up. And or at least you feel an air of excitement surrounding you. And you might be feeling that you might feel more inspired or get some downloads of some innovative ideas or some change in your personal journey or course. Also, you may be more receptive to new energies, people, attitudes, and also approaches. Thinking outside the box, I would say, is also very much of that Leo full moon energy because of the opposition between sun and moon. And when I think of Leo, right, I think of go big or go home.
I tend to agree.
I would say it's pretty gorgeous. If I were to sum it with one word, gorgeous. Yeah. Although it's squaring the notes, close to exact. Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you square the notes, actually something may come into manifestation, honestly. I'd rather it have 4 fixed signs all occupied in a grand square than a missing fourth leg anytime.
I would say squares are definitely better than unexpected.
Because when there's a grand square, things can come better into manifestation into your life. When I see a T square, things are like half whack. You know.
The squares are like, for me, it's still like pushing us into action, and that action brings the material results as well, guys. Having said that, from my end, it's like every fixed moon I see, and especially fixed moon, lunation, full moon, new moon this year will have that Saturn Uranus kind of agitation to it as well. So I want to really be optimistic here, like a Leo, and I have quite a lot of Leo energy in my chart, and I want to be optimistic here, and I want to say that there's a little bit optimism with this full moon, but in my mind, the Saturn, whenever Saturn is like, I would say 15 degrees from the moon or the full moon, new moon, there is a certain kind of Saturnian influence here. So that
What
might dampen the
somberness?
mood. Somberness, exactly. And like it's even um, again, remember it's an opposition. So it's more difficult to get the positive side of Saturn, which is there, which is the practicality, which is putting in the effort, which is work, which is status, which is getting the results. So it is there that the results are here for us to get wherever Leo is in our natal charts. But the Saturnian influence opposing it will be almost like, can I get it? Like, is it possible to for me to achieve these dreams or goals? It might be something there to kind of stop us, block us, um, almost block that youthful, um, fun Leo side that everybody actually has internally inside of them, and that, like Donny said, the somber, um, almost like it's almost like kind of feeling that I get with this heavy Saturn influence here, unfortunately, guys. Uh, and the terms here aren't my favorite. Saturn for the Sun, and Mars for the Moon. Full moon is always a time where emotions are kind of running more wildly. Let's put it that way. And whenever moon is a little bit more agitated, like it is here with both the term Mars and Saturn, and a little bit from Uranus side as well, the emotional ups and downs and kind of reactions are still going to be more in our faces there. It will be harder to ground them in squares and opposition. So it will be like, woof, I react here, woof, I react there. The person reacts back at me as well. Hope you have something positive to add. I'm getting
Oh
even
yeah,
depressed,
actually,
depressed saying
no.
this thing.
Actually, you know what? This can be the full moon that will seed the collective energy for stuff to bottom out. Why do I say that? This is because the moon is at 27 Leo. Guess where guess where Venus will be stationed retrograde next in 2023?
I'm guessing 27 degrees of Leo.
26, 27 degrees of Leo. So it's almost like planting that seed for us to bottom out, actually. So it's not all that bad. But one thing I just want to point out is that the moon and Pluto are in quincunx or inconjunct, close to exact 27 Leo and 27 Capricorn. So there can be this kind of still living our best lives, fun, of course, versus having to be under the control of, big brothers watching. There's like this push and pull, like when I see it in conjunct between Moon and Pluto. But I think honestly, when Venus actually stationed to go retrograde in I forgot if it's Q2 or Q3 of 2023, when it hits 26 of Leo, you look back at this full moon and say, aha, I've started something from back then here.
The one thing that really comes to me, and as I was speaking, kind of my turn, definitely I feel this heaviness of the heart when I'm looking at this. And remember, guys, Leo rules the heart.
Yeah.
And whenever there's, I think there can be moments during this full moon that are coming our way that, maybe make us feel heavy in the heart, or these events that are happening in the world. Maybe there's something a little bit here and there happening that causes us to close our hearts, put them kind of like away, even like Saturn opposite, blocking them. Remember, guys, that this is also a momentary event, in our solar system. So the heaviness will lift, and if you feel yourself heavy in those moments, remember that Leo positive side of what it is to actually open your heart. That's the Leo who lives with an open heart, even though there are difficulties around us, even though there are things that are kind of trying to suppress us, trying to put us down. Even then, the strong Leo energy is like, I'm here, bitch. Basically, I mean, sorry to say that, but it's just like I'm here. My heart is open. I'm still loving my love is flowing in spite of everything that is happening outside of and externally.
You know what? I've just actually thought of something. Maybe there's more instances over this full moon of what's that thing called myocarditis, inflammation of the heart.
Yeah, I
Like
think
moon in
problems
Leo
with the
is
heart.
children, right? And that in conjunct, anything that's in conjunct can manifest as bodily out of balance. And there can be more instances of that also happening as well.
I'm afraid I must agree. Every time we get a hard aspect from Saturn, Pluto, Mars, especially during a full moon, there can be problems with that specific part that sign rules, which in this case is the heart, guys. So be
Yeah,
careful.
so there can be
Absolutely.
myocarditis. You guys know what I'm talking about. So I think we've covered a lot of what this month is about.
Jesus.
So any parting words or outro that you want to tell the audience? This month, I would say overall, there can be so much potential because I do see that this is the start of us bottoming out, actually.
Yeah, guys, I think again, like we said a couple of times, this month does hold a certain amount of positivity,
Mm.
optimism, energies that support us. Yes, there are some heaviness. We can use them. We can make them, in a way ours. Be sure to do that as well. Don't. One thing I've been seeing a lot lately is people, I guess, that I see almost like abusing astrology or using astrology in a weird ways where when you're worried about every transit coming like really long time into the future, guys, life is still happening right now, right here. Let's make use of these transits that are happening, in our immediate future or even immediate future in the now, in this moment. This is where we actually living. This is one of the places where we're, like Donny said, I think multiple times, we're putting in the seeds. We're making the efforts. Yes, we can make plans, da 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 da, but we're putting in the seeds to have those results whenever those good transits come in. But guys, if you're actually in the moment, putting in the effort with these energies, navigating with these energies, you don't even have to worry about these future, Pluto will be, trying my Jupiter, I'm going to be a millionaire type of thing. Actually, you're putting in the work right now, and then when the transit hits, who knows, maybe you're going to be a
Well,
millionaire.
it's just more than transits, right? As we know as astrologers, you
Of
need like
course.
activations after activations piling up on top of each other. I always use the term like dissect and restack. Things must stack
Dissect
up.
and restack. I totally agree.
Yeah.
And the way things stack up, guys, is you make plans, you take action, you study, you acquire skills, and you make it happen in the material world as well as the spiritual world. I think
I
that's it
would
for me.
I would say it's a parting sentence that, or should I say, I want to reiterate this. If you've got planets from 24 to 29 degrees of a sign, irregardless what sign it is, I would say that since um, November, you will have been feeling from that lunar eclipse that we just mentioned prior, um, you start feeling there's a lot of changes that comes to you. Why do I say that? This is because from November 19th, that lunar eclipse, all the full moons are ranging in degrees from 25 to 29.
That's a good one.
So from November back then, because I got planets there, me actually. So I'm feeling the activations each month when a full moon comes up. There's a lot of drama, and it's usually not instigated by me. And these full moons will actually range from 25 to 29 degrees all the way till that total lunar eclipse in the middle of May of this year. That will happen at 25 Scorpio. So if you got planets in the last 5 degrees of the zodiac, or even 0 degrees of a sign, you may be feeling that. But just know that things need to play out. Maybe there's more drama happening in your life because these are all full moons and some are lunar eclipses. So there'll be some kind of culmination of sorts in terms of that. So if you got planets there, just know that it is coming also partially from that energy. So anything more to add?
I think only if you want to work with us, the links will be in the description box below. I think Gliam out for now. and the world famous.
Sounds like that candy that's like what? It's a chocolate covered caramel candy from IKEA. It's called a Diam or something.
That's a really good kind of candy, Donny. Anyway. The world famous astrology duo is out for now. Guys, we'll be doing more stuff like this. We will probably most likely will do even more other type of astrological stuff in the coming year. Please stay tuned with us. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Let us know what you're going through. And Godspeed, I guess.
Yes, and pardon us for taking a break because I was busy clearing up stuff from December predominantly of 2021. So February, very good month. Overall, I would still say I would rank it like high up, like 7.5 upon 10 or something. Although a few little doozies here and there, but it's not something that you can't overcome. There's so many trines and sextiles. And that extended kiss between Venus and Mars, doesn't come along often.
Use it, guys. Please use it.
Yeah. Use it, yeah. Just don't get too impatient with loved ones. That can also be Mars and Venus conjunction.
See you soon, guys.
Right, bye.